I had to be like, Tim, what the heck is a black bag? Hi guys, welcome back to Zebadextra v Phebo. We are gonna do a little movie review today.
We are.
We had a spontaneous date night the other night. We went to go see a movie.
We did.
It was between Novocaine with somebody Quaid or...
Randy Quaid's boy?
No, Dennis Quaid.
Oh, Dennis Quaid's boy.
And then there was also Snow White, but that wasn't even in the runnings because Tim vetoed that hard.
No.
What was the other one? The first one.
Black Bag.
No, so that's the one we watched.
No, Locked?
Yeah, Locked.
Locked.
Where the guy that plays Pennywise is locked in a car and Anthony Hopkins is like pranking.
Pennywise the clown is locked in a car?
The guy
being tormented by somebody else?
Yeah, the guy that plays Pennywise is locked in the car.
It would be best if it was actually like Pennywise.
Yeah.
He's like stealing cars and gets locked in it and gets terrorized. That would be fun. I would go watch that. And
interestingly enough, Bill Skarsgård's brother was in the movie we watched.
He was.
And he was like the producer too or something.
I don't know.
He had a very small role.
It's like Gunther, I think it was. Gunther? Started with a G.
Something. Gustav.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to be talking about Black Bag today. That's the one we landed on.
Yes.
It is like a spy. It's a British spy. It's not really a thriller. No. There wasn't anything thrilling about it.
More like drama?
Yeah, it was a whodunit.
Yeah.
And like a cat and mouse kind of situation. So we're not going to be giving any spoilers. We're just going to give a quick little review of the film. I think my first takeaway was we did not need to see this in a theater. I don't think there was anything that would have been like, wow, this would have been so exciting in the theater.
This isn't like a Mission Impossible type spy movie. This is more of a... I can't even think of another name of a movie.
It felt a little bit more like Ocean's 11 or something, but there was even more action in Ocean's 11. This way, really, there wasn't any action.
Yeah, there was not a lot of action in this.
Yeah. So why don't you give us a little rundown? Give us some plot.
So, in this movie, there was a computer program that's like a virus, and it has to be introduced physically to a system because the systems that it would interrupt are air-gapped. Meaning...
You know what's funny? What? This part you're talking about is the part that I didn't pay attention to at all in the film.
I figured.
So I had no idea what they were upset about. Yeah. I was just like, whatever.
So something that's air-gapped means you can't introduce it... like our computer, somebody can introduce a virus to our computer because it's connected to the internet. Right? So it's not air-gapped. Now... a computer like, let's say if we disconnected it from the internet, right? And we had it set up in a room by itself, and there's no Wi-Fi, nothing like that turned on, that would be air-gapped because there's air.
Got it.
Air.
So why would the SIS want computers like that?
So
what can you use them for if they're not connected to the internet?
There are a lot of government agencies that use air-gapped systems for various things. For one thing, they're much more secure.
Just for like communicating within the building kind of thing?
Not necessarily. A lot of times it's more data storage, or it is where they want to look at data but not let anybody know they're looking at data.
Okay, so it's like if you have a journal. It's like the company's journal. They're not going to be sharing it with anybody, but they're just going to be storing information, and they're going to come back and look at it.
Yes, we could go with that. It's a little broader than that, but yes.
Right. I had no idea that this was about. I thought it was more similar to that one where it was like a drive and it had like a bunch of people's names on it, and they didn't want the names to get out.
So there's a lot of systems in the
There was
government.
like a little drive though, right?
Yes, it was just a little USB drive.
And the drive was going to have something to do with an air gap?
No. Air gap is the system that they were trying to introduce it to. It's the computer that's not connected to anything except the system that it runs. So, a good way to think of this is, you ever watch a movie about nuclear weapons? When they're launching nuclear weapons.
Only Oppenheimer.
The president does not type in launch.
Okay.
And it goes.
Right.
Right? He calls somebody. Mm-hmm. And he says, launch.
Got it.
And then that guy calls somebody else and he goes, okay, we're confirmed, launch.
Okay.
And then the guys inside the silo
do the stuff.
each turn keys.
And what would...
That is air gap.
So what would this drive have done for the people that were... Okay, so there's a drive. And there's somebody who's stolen this drive, or you said it was a code or something.
Right. So it's software on a drive.
Okay. And they wanted it to knock it out because in the wrong hands the person could have...
Killed thousands.
Because of a
Tens
nuclear
of
weapon.
thousands. Yes.
Because they could take the drive, put it in a specific computer, and it could make a thing happen.
Right. It could create a meltdown.
But they would have to get to the place that has the nuclear weapons. Okay.
Correct. They would have to still get inside the facility and introduce that.
That still sounds like difficult.
Yeah, of course, it's very difficult.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a lot of technical, but they kind of just very briefly talked about this in the very beginning of the movie, and then I was just sitting there like this.
It wasn't even in the beginning. It was more towards the middle, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
Well, they said that Cerberus, Severus, like Severus Snape.
Yes.
Snape. Somebody had it or something, and he had... So
somebody stole it. That's all they knew.
I feel like we're not getting very quick into the plot here.
No, we're not.
Michael Fassbender is married to Kate Blanchett, which is why I watched this film. They are two spies that work for the same agency. Michael Fassbender is the only thing that he had to do at the agency was giving people lie detector tests. Was that like his job?
So he was more of like the... he was more the guy that researches and investigates things.
Okay, but they probably all do that?
Yes, but his job was more internal investigation.
Okay.
So more like internal affairs.
So the guy at the beginning was somebody he also worked with, and he said, it's your job to figure out where the leak is or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So... without giving any spoilers, there's a group of about 7 or 8 people that you're sus of in the movie. And the main character, Michael Fassbender, is trying to figure out who it is. Yes. And even his wife is under suspicion within the group of people. So then the rest of the movie is him trying to figure out who it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I like this movie in the fact that... there were a couple of things that were really fun to me.
Oh, yeah?
The dinner parties.
The dinner parties were fun. The lie detector tests were fun.
Yes. And the questions he asks were just like...
Yeah.
And there were parts like that. I was not at any point in this movie like, oh my goodness.
No.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
Only the part where there's the first injury... I was a little bit at that part.
The first guy that died?
No. Okay, so sorry, not the first injury. That was a death. The first injury. At the dinner party.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that was a bit of a shock. That was a bit of a shock.
There is one person that gives a tiny bit of comic relief. Everybody else is just like so just there's just no humor in this film except for that one person, especially the two main characters. They're just really cold and serious all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. There was some... I enjoyed the interactions between the main character and the individual people around the table. Even not when they were at the table.
Okay.
Like when he shows up at one girl's house. that to me.
Yeah, but because of her.
Yeah.
That's why it's interesting.
Yeah, but
She
it was
is just
also.
like,
But he's so dry that it actually pulls it in a little bit.
I don't know. He was my least favorite character.
Yeah.
In the whole thing.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't want to give any spoilers, but it was good. Tim guessed who the murderer was, like not very far into it. I mean,
you know, after you've seen a few of these, it's there's not too many variations.
well, I mean, there were 8 different people it could be. So.
Right, but there's not very many variations on the theme.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, when you look at a movie and you're like, who's the prime suspect, rule that one out right away. Right? Because generally it's not them.
Yeah.
They're usually that red herring.
Yeah.
And then you look at the other ones and you go, who's the least likely? That one becomes the most likely.
Yeah.
Right?
So, another thing going for the film, it was set in London, but then we also got like a little bit of Istanbul. Istanbul?
No.
No?
No.
We did. She was there. Oh, why was I thinking Istanbul?
I don't know.
Did they ever go to France? I think they were mostly just in London, right?
I don't think so, unless that pond that they always go to was Monet's.
The pond?
Yeah. Like, that was a big part of the movie. Did you miss that?
I'm trying to think of the pond.
Where he goes out fishing all the time.
Oh, no, that's gotta... And I'm sure he's not going to France to go fishing.
That looked like Monet's.
Okay, so there were some pretty shots is what I was trying to say, but I think for the most part, I'm going to give this film like a 7 for me. Because I would probably rewatch this. A 7 for me is like rewatchable, but if it's like an 8 or a 9, 10, that's where I'm like telling people, oh, you need to go see this.
Yeah.
But for me, like 7 because you don't need to go see this in a theater. The acting was good, the plot was interesting, but for me, I was like, it needed a little bit something more.
A little more spice, yeah. So what I will say is I went into this with thinking I was going to come out at a 3.
At a 3 out of 10?
Yeah, because like when we listened to that, do you
That was
remember?
the one you liked the best when we were watching the trailers.
No. When you did the trailer,
yeah,
and then you were like, well, what about this one later? And I was like, I don't even know which one you're talking about.
Sure, you did.
Because I was like, it did not catch me in the trailer at all.
Wow.
And so I went into this with 0 expectation. And because I did, it exceeded that. Okay, so it exceeded 0 expectation. And I would put it, I would probably put it at 6 or 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So decent, like Netflix and chill kind of situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. The best part about this whole movie, seriously, the best part about the whole movie was my date.
Oh. For a second I thought you were going to say Pierce Brosnan, and I was like, really?
Although, you know, like, when I was looking at Pierce Brosnan, I was like, it surprised me, his appearance.
Well, he was in a preview or something for something else, and he looks different. So in this film, they made him look, I feel like they put some kind of thing on his face or something.
To make him younger or older?
No, to look older.
I was going to say, because he looked so old in this movie.
Well, and he didn't look dashing, which he usually does, and so he just looked different to me in this film.
Yeah. Old people, we don't look dashing anymore. That's what happens.
I disagree.
Okay.
All right, guys, so that is going to wrap up this review. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and Tim gave you a little insight into what the crap is going on in this film if it's just going right over your head like me.
So, what is the term black bag? Where does that come in?
I had to be like, Tim, what the heck is a black bag?
Yes.
So he told me that it's not maybe super familiar to us Americans.
Right.
But for somebody who's working in British Secret Service, it's saying, like, this is classified.
Right.
Like, it's just an umbrella term for you don't need to know.
Right. So bag means it's the wrapper, right?
Okay.
So it and it's black because black is like black sites or black
ops.
Black ops, right. So anything black is secret or higher.
Okay.
And so in their case they use the word bag because it's just it fits inside this.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Wrapper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for me, it was a pretty good thing that I went with him. Yeah. Although I have to admit,
yeah, you're right. It was a pretty good thing you went with me.
I didn't ask you.
If you went with somebody else, we were gonna have some troubles.
So I have to admit, I didn't ask you very many questions during this film. I was trying my hardest not to constantly ask you questions.
Really?
Yes. So just imagine about 3 or 4 times as many more questions than what I asked you.
No. I literally was watching this film with a woman who was like, I
was pretty confused.
And at one point, I'm like, I'm gonna move.
I was trying to not.
Yeah, so.
All right, guys. Well, that's gonna wrap it up. Let us know if there's anything else that you think we should watch and review, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Are we gonna watch Snow White?
Dude, you had the opportunity, ample opportunity this weekend. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you later.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.